something about change always captures attention, especially when it comes from someone the world thought they already understood. For decades, the world has known Pierce Brosnan as the smooth, confident face of elegance, charm, and Hollywood success. From action-packed roles to red carpet appearances, he has always carried a sense of timeless sophistication. But beside him has always been someone just as important, yet far less understood by the public. That person is Keely Shaye Smith. And recently something about her has sparked conversations around the world. Not because she chased attention, not because she changed who she was, but because she stepped into a version of herself that quietly but powerfully transformed everything. So the question is simple, yet deeply compelling. What truly changed? And why is the world suddenly paying attention now? To understand that, we have to go back to where it all began. Hollywood love stories are often short-lived. Fast beginnings, faster endings. Headlines today, silence tomorrow. But this story didn't follow that pattern. It began far away from flashing cameras, in a moment that neither of them expected would change their lives forever. At that time, Pierce Brosnan was carrying a pain that few people ever saw publicly. He had lost his first wife, Cassandra Harris, to cancer, a loss that left him emotionally shattered. Even in interviews, he admitted that there were moments when life felt unbearably empty. He wasn't searching for fame. He wasn't searching for love. He was simply trying to survive his own grief. And then life quietly shifted. Their meeting wasn't staged. It wasn't planned. It wasn't part of a Hollywood script. It happened in Mexico in 1994. Keely Shaye Smith was there as a journalist and environmental advocate, someone deeply connected to storytelling and real-world issues, not celebrity culture. When they met, something subtle but powerful happened. No dramatic music, no instant headlines. Just a quiet connection between two people who had lived very different lives, but somehow understood each other instantly. Keely later described him as gentle, warm, and thoughtful. But what struck her most was not fame or appearance. It was his emotional depth. And for Pierce, she wasn't just another person in the room. She was calm in a world that had become emotionally chaotic for him. And that became the beginning of everything. But here's the real question. How does a connection like that survive in a world built on pressure, fame, and constant public judgment? The answer begins with time and patience. Their relationship didn't explode overnight. It grew slowly, naturally, intentionally. They talked, they walked, they shared long conversations that had nothing to do with fame or the entertainment industry. And for Pierce, something felt different this time. He wasn't trying to escape pain anymore. He was learning how to heal within a relationship that didn't demand perfection, only honesty. Keely never rushed him, never pressured him. She simply stayed present. And sometimes that is the rarest form of love. But even then, life wasn't just romance and calm moments. Because in Hollywood, even real love gets tested. After years together, their bond became unshakable. In 2001, they got married in a deeply personal ceremony in Ireland at Ballintubber Abbey. It wasn't flashy. It wasn't designed for headlines. It was intimate, emotional, and filled with meaning. They weren't trying to impress the world. They were simply committing to each other. And soon after, their family grew. They welcomed 2 sons together, building a home filled with laughter, stability, and grounded values. For Pierce, fatherhood was not a role, it was identity. For Keely, motherhood became one of her most cherished life experiences. But even in a seemingly perfect life, reality always exists beneath the surface. And over time, the world began to notice something different. Not about their love, but about her. At first, it was subtle. A few comments online, a few headlines, a few unnecessary opinions. Then slowly, attention shifted toward Keely's appearance. Public scrutiny intensified. Social media amplified it. And suddenly, a woman who had lived her life with dignity and purpose found herself being reduced to shallow comparisons and unfair commentary. But what most people didn't know was the truth behind what they were seeing. Keely was dealing with a real medical condition, thyroid imbalance, a condition that can deeply affect metabolism, energy, and physical changes in the body. It wasn't a lifestyle choice. It wasn't something she controlled easily. It was life. But the internet rarely pauses to understand context. And yet, through all of it, Keely didn't disappear. She didn't retreat. She didn't try to fight attention with noise. She simply continued living, quietly strong, steadily grounded. But the real turning point was still ahead. And it would come from within her, not from the world outside. There comes a moment in life when external opinions stop mattering as much as internal truth. For Keely, that moment arrived gradually, not dramatically, not suddenly, but clearly. She wasn't interested in changing to fit expectations. She was interested in feeling better physically, mentally, emotionally, not for attention, not for validation, but for herself. And that shift in mindset changed everything. Because transformation built on self-worth is very different from transformation built on pressure. One breaks you, the other rebuilds you. And Keely chose the second path. Instead of extreme diets or quick fixes, she chose something more sustainable. She moved toward a plant-based, whole food approach. Fresh vegetables, natural ingredients, balanced meals, mindful eating, no obsession, no punishment, just awareness. She began listening to her body instead of fighting it. Some days required more energy. Some days required rest. And she learned to respect both equally. But nutrition was only one part of her transformation. The real shift came from movement. Keely didn't chase intense fitness trends. She didn't transform her life through extremes. Instead, she embraced simplicity. Walking became a daily ritual, sometimes on beaches, sometimes through quiet surroundings where thoughts could breathe freely. Yoga brought balance. Swimming brought strength without strain. Light strength training helped her feel physically capable and energized. But the most important part wasn't what she did. It was consistency, not perfection, not intensity, just steady commitment. And slowly, her body responded, not to pressure but to care. But physical transformation alone was never the full story, because true change always happens deeper. While the world focused on appearance, Keely focused on peace. She began practicing mindfulness, short moments of stillness in the morning, breathing instead of reacting, writing instead of suppressing emotions. Journaling became a tool for clarity, not correction. And slowly, something powerful happened. She stopped seeing herself through criticism and started seeing herself through understanding. Self-compassion replaced self-judgment, and that changed her entire emotional world. But she wasn't alone in this journey. Through every stage, Brosnan remained her constant support, not as a public figure, not as a celebrity presence, but as a husband, a partner, a quiet anchor. He didn't try to control her journey. He didn't define it. He walked beside her. Morning walks became shared time. Healthy meals became something they created together. And most importantly, emotional support never faded. In interviews over the years, he often expressed deep admiration for her, not just for how she looked, but for who she was as a person. Because for him, love was never conditional. It was constant. But the world was about to notice something different. And this time, the reaction would shift. As Keely reappeared at public events, something unexpected happened. People didn't just notice change. They noticed energy, confidence, presence, a sense of calm self-assurance that couldn't be manufactured. Some called it transformation. Others called it rediscovery. But those closest to her called it alignment. She wasn't becoming someone new. She was returning to herself. And that distinction mattered more than anything else. Because the Real story was never about weight, appearance, or public attention. It was about reclaiming identity. Over time, Keely's journey began resonating with people far beyond Hollywood. Women dealing with health challenges, people struggling with self-image, individuals navigating aging, identity, and change. They saw something in her story that felt familiar. Not perfection, but persistence. Not sudden transformation, but steady evolution. And that made her relatable in a way fame never could. Because she wasn't presenting an ideal. She was living a process. Keely Shaye Smith's journey is not just about physical change. It is about emotional resilience. It is about self-acceptance in a world that often demands the opposite. It is about partnership that survives pressure. And most importantly, it is about choosing yourself without rejecting who you were before. Through every phase, she remained grounded in what mattered most: family, health, peace, and authenticity. And alongside her, Pierce remained a symbol of steady love in a world that often moves too fast to protect it. So, when people talk about Keely's transformation, they often focus on what they can see. But the real transformation is not visible at first glance. It is internal. It is emotional. It is deeply human. Because the truth is simple. She didn't change to become someone else. She changed to feel more like herself. And in doing so, she reminded the world of something important. That growth is not about becoming perfect. It is about becoming whole.